It is July 2026. In Lima, the winter mist is settling over the capital. Tomorrow, July 28th, the country prepares for the standard rituals of power, the transfer of the presidential sash, and the continued cycle of the republic. But as this orange surge begins to displace the city's traditional political architecture, the standard democratic cycle is beginning to stall. Keiko Fujimori is set to begin a 5-year term, assuming a presidency that she has spent over a decade pursuing. The scene mirrors the rise of her father, Alberto Fujimori, who famously centralized power and bypassed traditional oversight during the 1990s. This incoming administration does not mirror the blunt force of 1992. It is a modernized mutation, a system designed to use the law itself to dismantle the foundation of the republic. This strategy avoids the chaos of a traditional coup by ensuring the legislative branch is captured before the first day of the term. Congressional debate is being replaced by a state of political warfare, where the parliament functions as a weapon rather than a check on power. Through an aligned Congress, the executive passes surgical reforms, rewriting the rules to favor the presidency. These reforms re-engineer the internal wiring of the state, ensuring structural nodes, from the national courts to the treasury, operate strictly under executive command. When the parliament acts as an extension of the president, traditional oversight disappears, granting the executive total legal authority without a single soldier entering the streets. With the legislature secured, the state can begin dismantling the independent bodies that act as referees for the republic. This process targets the judiciary and electoral boards, systematically bringing judges and ballot counters under the direct influence of the palace. This consolidation creates a loop where the executive branch effectively functions as judge, jury, and executioner for any political challenge. By controlling the bodies that verify election results, the regime can pause the democratic cycle, ensuring its hold on power lasts well beyond the legal limits of a single term. As the institutions fall, the administration turns its focus toward managing public dissent and the flow of information. Political opponents are not exiled. They are buried in red tape, restricted to the internet's edges, and labeled as state enemies to freeze their assets. Major media outlets are pressured into compliance, creating a landscape where news cycles consist almost entirely of coordinated praise for the government's efficiency. This carefully constructed narrative contrasts with the physical reality of a population facing a fortified state and an increasingly restricted public life. In this environment, the opposition becomes a ghost, haunting the halls of a government that has adopted the form of a monarchy while maintaining the mask of a republic. The mechanical takeover of a state is only the first half of the process. The second half takes place in the psychology of the citizens. The most effective tool for maintaining this control is the gradual normalization of the abnormal. This chart tracks Peru's democratic indices. It shows a stable baseline that suddenly collapses in July 2026 as civil liberties are traded for centralized control. Over time, the population adapts, accepting the new restrictions as a necessary cost for a rigid illusion of order. The image of the palace behind these iron bars reflects the state's new posture. It functions as a fortress, prioritizing internal preservation over public access. With the capture of the electoral boards and the erosion of term limits, the upcoming 5 years represent only the opening phase. Peru is entering a political winter that could last 15 years or more. This regime achieves permanence through the slow accumulation of legal control. By the time the public experiences the full weight of the transition, the legal pathways to reverse it have already been erased.